This is the Troll Patrol. Live. With Justin. FREAKIN.
Welcome to the Troll Patrol. Live. It's a freaking Wednesday. Yes, I took a day off yesterday. Had a lot of shit to catch up on. Plus, I really wanted to. I've got so much shit on the backlog I need to watch. I wanted to watch that QAnon documentary because I wanted to talk about it. And I did. I binged that whole motherfucker last night. Almost. I didn't make it quite to the end. I did eat a pot brownie before binging on the entire motherfucker. And it knocked my ass out. But I got to the end. This morning I watched the final episode. I highly recommend it. I think it's called Q Into the Storm on HBO. Yo! What's up, Rocky Flame? It goes into the details, the history, the internet culture, everything steeped in. Goes back through the satanic panic and relates everything back to what's happening now. I cannot recommend it enough. Fuck QAnon. Well, we found out who QAnon is, which, I mean, we did the story here on the Troll Patrol back probably around December, November, about it being Jim Watkins, the owner of 8chan, 8con, whatever it is. It was Jim and Ron Watkins, his son. Spoiler alert. For a story that I covered back in December, but is actually the, ending of a hit HBO documentary right now. So my apologies. I figured the entire time, but then again, documentaries like that, they want to give you a twist at the end. But as I said, I'd covered the story already. All right, the Senate Majority Leader, Chuck Schumer, released a video today. Talking about the American Rescue Plan, the infrastructure bill that Biden is currently pushing.
The American people, help is on the way. The American Rescue Plan will go down.
Help is on the way, he says. What are we into this administration now? About 3 months? About goddamn time.
Sweeping federal recovery efforts in history. One of the most
$2,000 out the door was, $1,400 a month and a half later, 2 months later.
Exactly what we need to defeat the virus. It will send direct checks to American workers and families. It'll keep firefighters.
People still probably haven't got their $1,400 yet.
Sanitation workers on the job. We expanded the child tax credit for an overwhelming majority of families in this country. Analysts predict that this policy will cut childhood poverty in half. The American Rescue Plan is nothing short of a lifeline for
exactly
businesses from one end of this country to the other. $30 billion for restaurants.
One of the absolute most powerful people in the country.
$1 billion in additional support for our nation's small theaters and venues, adding to the Save Our Stages Act, $15 billion in flexible targeted grants. Up to 90% of minority-owned small businesses will qualify for this funding. Senate Democrats delivered the single largest investment in American education ever.
Which I assume the bill is being marked up in committee right now.
Substantial emergency relief to
in conference. I'm sorry, not committee, in conference.
Financial aid grants to students. The American Rescue Plan.
Manchin is at least posturing to be against this bill.
Loan forgiveness by making all types of.
But once again, he's wanting something in return for
more than $20 billion in emergency aid for low-income renters, those at the greatest risk of eviction. $10 billion to help homeowners behind on mortgages and utilities.
How many people have already been evicted
native programs in our
since
nation.
Democrats took office?
Experts have called the American Rescue Plan, quote, the most significant legislation for black farmers since the Civil Rights Act. The American Rescue Plan is going to have an immense impact on nearly every community in America.
Dick Durbin is indeed incompetent. I fucking hate Durbin. One of my least favorite Democrats. Like at least Chucky Schumer, I can give him some props. I do not like Dick Durbin at all. Here is Biden making his case to Republicans to support his infrastructure plan.
I've heard from my Republican friends say that many of them say it's too big. They say
that's what she
why
said.
not focus on traditional infrastructure. Fix what we've already got. The roads and the highways that exist and the bridges. I'm happy to have that debate. But I want to tell you my view. We are America. We don't just fix for today. We build for tomorrow. 200 years ago, trains weren't traditional infrastructure either, until America made a choice to lay down tracks across the country.
We're going to get to that in just a little bit. Now, I will say it's probably being made more of than what it is, but god damn, Biden, that is not a good look right now. Because, I mean, continuing what Trump was doing, Trump wasn't building a fucking wall. Trump was replacing the fencing along the border, which might need to be done. So, you know, fucking Biden is replacing some more fencing. And by saying that he's continuing the Trump policy of building the wall, which Trump wasn't building a fucking wall, it's a whole fucking thing. I hate the way Democrats always make themselves look bad. It does seem like they're doing it on purpose now, doesn't it? Their messaging is so off.
Highways weren't traditional infrastructure until we allowed ourselves to imagine that roads could connect our nation across state lines. The idea of infrastructure has always evolved to meet the aspirations of the American people and their needs. And it's evolving again today. We need to start seeing infrastructure through its effect on the lives of working people in America.
Now, they're saying they're making a push for broadband. I hope that it's more than just a giveaway to these tech companies so that they can do wiring and shit, and we never actually see a fucking benefit from it. So they can come in and put in subsidized wiring in cities and then fucking still charge an arm and a leg for their internet access. I'm afraid that's what's going to happen. That seems like a very Democrat thing to do.
What is the foundation today that they need to carve out their place in the middle class, to make it, to live, to go to work, to raise their families with dignity, to ensure that good jobs will be there for their
Your family ain't got no dignity. I've seen what your brother and your son been doing.
Zip code they live in. That's what infrastructure means in the 21st century. It still depends on roads and bridges, ports and airports, rail and mass transit. But it also depends on having reliable, high-speed internet in every home. Because today's high-speed internet is infrastructure.
I am still just gobsmacked by the way Hunter Biden talked. It sounded like the man's testicles hadn't dropped. You see these pictures of him with his aviators and shit, and he looks so cool, and like there were all the memes going around like, I'd fuck Hunter Biden. But like, then I listened to him talk, and like, Jesus, dude, get some bass in your voice. What the hell?
It depends on...
I shouldn't voice shame. I'm sorry.
A grid that won't collapse in a winter storm or be compromised by hackers at home or abroad. It depends on...
Not everybody can have this audible ecstasy.
From every American community, including those that have
wielding over here.
left out. Black, Latino, Asian American, Native Americans, rural communities. Talk to folks around the country about what really makes up the foundation of a good economy. Ask a teacher or a child care worker if having clean drinking water, non-contaminated drinking water.
Joe Biden, teachers already have enough on their fucking plate. They're doing fucking everything in the world, especially with the pandemic going on. And you want me to add to their burden and go up and ask them stupid ass questions that you should know about. You've got a whole Department of Education to study this shit.
schools and our child care centers is part of that foundation.
Oh, I am definitely enjoying it.
That the lead in our pipes slows a child's development when they drink that water. As the entrepreneur who small.
We've known that for 50 fucking years now.
Second 100-year flood in the last 10
I don't think there's not infighting going on with leftists. God damn. Leave AOC alone. Leave AOC alone. Why are there so many asshole leftists attacking AOC? God damn. Yeah, but like that's just once again proving that, you know, they're not dumb. There are plenty of Republicans right now that aren't dumb. They know what's going on, but they don't have the balls to say it. They don't have the courage to, you know, take a loss in an election for telling the truth. They're all goddamn cowards. So, well, fuck John Boner.
West that burned 5 million acres last year, an area roughly the size of the entire state of New Jersey. More fires than ever.
Oh, are you ready for this?
The devastating damage.
We've been listening to boring ass Biden. We've been talking about policy and everything. Let's get to the fun shit, shall we? Bill O'Reilly was on with Glenn Beck the other day talking about this infrastructure plan. So here we go.
$1 trillion American jobs plan.
This is great. Don't you love it? It's really good.
Biden?
Yeah, I love it.
So now we're in full socialism mode. And I was telling my audience.
Does he know what socialism is? Because it's not investment into private companies. That's the exact opposite of socialism. Just giving away government money to private companies is not socialism, Bill O'Reilly. God damn.
On BillO'Reilly.com the other night, I said, look, there's a delineation between Americans who seek information, those who are listening to us right now, and
where is Beck at?
On listening to Puff Daddy, okay? There's
Right.
a delineation.
Did Puff Daddy drop a new album and I'm not aware of it? I didn't know that Puff Daddy was still even a fucking thing. Is that just like Bill O'Reilly's latest reference?
All right. So you have, I would say, half the.
Couldn't even say Cardi B. Cardi B. That's all they've talked about.
Some information in their lives.
Some.
And half does.
Little Nas X.
Yeah.
Fucking shit. Little Nas X, motherfucker. That's what you guys have been losing your shit over for like the last 2 weeks. No one needs to be aware of Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, Sean Combs, whatever the fuck he's going by. All right, take it away, Bill.
There's
Right.
a delineation. All right. So you have, I would say, half the American public actually absorbs some information in their lives,
Some.
and half doesn't.
Some. Yes.
Yeah. But you got, maybe 100 million adults who have no blanket idea what's happening. None.
Absolutely.
And this is what.
They're your listeners. They're Glenn Beck's listeners.
They depend on those people to just knee-jerk and put in the politically correct crew. But now we're in full socialism mode, all right? So I have in front of me, Beck, because I always I want to be well-informed on the Glenn Beck program, the fusion of enlightenment and entertainment. I want to be very, very well-informed. I have in front of me where all of this money is supposed to go. Do you know that there is $10 billion for a civilian climate corps? $10 billion. A civilian climate corps. What exactly might that be?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm horrible at math, but this is $10 billion he's griping about. This is his, and I always say this, when people throw out an example, I always assume the first example that's on the top of their mind is the most potent example, right? Because it's the first one you threw out. Because somebody comes at me with a whole list of shit, all right, like I'm just going to break down the first one, because the first one should be your best example. The first thing he comes at you with is $10 billion. This is a what? A $4 trillion bill? A $3 trillion something dollar bill? What's $10 billion of $3 trillion, $4 trillion? Somebody do the math of that. It's like less than 1% or something, isn't it? I'm horrible at math and I'm stoned, so I don't exactly know. But it's a very small sliver of it. And that's what he's taking issue with here.
All right. I think what it is they'll hire...
And it's like a fucking conservation corps? Like, that's what he's taking issue with. They got $10 billion for this conservation corps. Sounds good. Do you see what the fuck? We're going to send people to fucking rake the forests and shit? And do controlled burns like they're supposed to? Have you seen what's been going on with our forests here lately? Yeah, we need some sort of conservation corps. Climate conservation corps, whatever the fuck they get. It sounds like a fantastic idea. $10 billion doesn't sound like enough. Bill O'Reilly.
To run around individual neighborhoods going, it's hot. It's hot today. It's hot. Okay?
You know, I wonder, Bill, what, Stu, do you remember the name of that civilian corps that I dressed up in lederhosen for when I was at Fox?
No, I just remember the lederhosen.
Yeah, okay. So, but it was on this, and I was talking about what FDR did in the 1930s.
Do you remember this segment at Fox about the civilian corps where I dressed up in lederhosen?
As a conservative, it's getting harder and harder to not look like a kook.
Just saying. Thank you, Rush, coming at us from the dead. That
and
nugget of wisdom.
Took this youth civilian corps, and they went out to help nature and the national parks and everything else. And Obama talked about doing this. I wonder if that's not the promise fulfilled now from President Obama.
Yeah.
Ooh, it's Obama. He's pulling the strings.
There's another $20 billion. See, this doesn't mean anything. People go, $20 billion, $20 trillion, who did care? Well, when the dollar collapses, just remember this conversation. All right, so $20 billion on bike lanes and pedestrian safety.
Sounds...
Right, this is a federal bill.
Isn't... My God, we need to be investing in bike lanes and pedestrian safety in every fucking city. 20 billion, that's all it is. 20 billion, O'Reilly, really? We need more. Thank you for pointing it out. We need double that, you stupid fuck.
Aren't bike lanes supposed to be in the county realm? Isn't it, we have a bike lane in Nassau County where I am, but Biden is now designating $20 billion for bike lanes?
Yeah, we need bike lanes. Hey, we need bike lanes on those interstate highways, and only the federal government can do those bike lanes. Yeah. This is part of the...
That's not a bad idea, to be honest with you. Put a bike lane on the interstate.
Sustainable 2030 Act. From the United Nations. The bike lanes are part of the Great Reset.
Not next to the interstate, but like off to the interstate.
Really is, for those who have the headphones on, okay, this is a full...
I think Bill O'Reilly just proposed the first interstate bike lane, and I'm down for it. I love the idea. Thank you, Bill O'Reilly. We should name it after him.
Socialism play. That the federal government in Washington will come to your county, your town, and tell you exactly how many bike lanes you can have, what kind of bikes you can ride.
That's not at all what's going on. Bill's bike lane.
I thought it was really interesting that after all of the stuff was broken down, that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and you got to give her credit, she's not a liar. She's not a deceiver.
No, she's not, Bill.
Basically, they deceive, all right? They'll never tell you the truth. But Ocasio-Cortez will. She goes, I hate this bill. because it's not enough. It should be 10 trillion, not 2 trillion in infrastructure or 3.
Listen. This is whatever. Maybe it's 2 something or other. 3. I overshot it with the 4. 2.7 or whatever the fuck it is. Because we don't actually have a bill yet. There are proposals and shit that are floating around. But that's over 10 years. It's really not enough. And other economists have chimed in on this and said that. So, yes, Bill, it is not enough.
10. Because this is what the socialists want. The government runs everything.
Everything.
Now,
yeah.
They have that in Europe.
Now, remember, what they're talking about is the government's going to hand out fucking contracts to private companies. This is not socialism by any stretch of the imagination at all. The government's just going to come in and fucking shower money on a bunch of private companies. They're going to waste it doing shit that the government could have done more efficiently anyway. But hey, we live in a capitalist society and that's the way we get shit done.
Have that in Europe and be happy, everyone.
But that's not socialism.
Or Beck and O'Reilly is his show. All right, right now, be happy you don't live in France because you can't come out of the house to get your croissant. It's locked down for 4 weeks. Why? Because the government of France...
Because there's a double mutant variant of the COVID.
They possibly develop a vaccine to do anything. So they don't have any vaccine. So
I don't think that's true at all.
The COVID 18th wave has swept over France and Germany and Italy and the Netherlands and on, because they're socialist governments. Whereby here in the capitalistic system, President Trump...
I would like to point out something, Bill O'Reilly. Last spring, Europe got hit really fucking hard right before we got hit really hard. If the trends follow, we're getting ready to get hit with another fucking wave. Just because everybody else is. It's kind of going to be inevitable. And once again, we handled it the worst of any other fucking country last time, of the industrialized first world countries. That's for sure.
Picked up the phone and said to the CEOs...
I think Brazil has surpassed us now.
Johnson & Johnson, whatever it may be. You get that back, we, the federal government, will buy it from you to the tune of billions of dollars and we'll sign the contract right now. Presto! 7 months later, there's the vax. So this is how capitalism works. You see, there are financial incentives to develop worthy things.
Oh my God.
Works because the government...
Bill O'Reilly believes that the government shoveling money at a private entity for a vaccine they've been developing for 10 years anyway, just to fast track it. He thinks that's capitalism.
So screwed up from top to bottom.
But he thinks the government shoveling money at private contractors to build roads is socialism.
Cost, I don't know, $100,000 by a local situation will cost the federal government $2 million. They can't do it. So,
well, the reason why they can't do it is because you are so far away from decision makers. You know, when your town is involved, I can go to the town mayor. I know the mayor. You know, the mayor might be my neighbor, and I can go and go, what are you doing with all of this? This is way out of control. But you can't go to the government. And so the graft and the waste is off the charts. I don't know if you noticed this, Bill, but unions are mentioned 24 times.
Great.
Oh, I know.
Fucking A.
I mean,
this is
again,
you want to talk about the cost of things.
Well, number one, the federal government...
Hopefully we're going to find out sometime soon. It might still be weeks to come.
We don't
what
care.
happened at the Amazon plant in Bessemer, Alabama.
$400 John seat. Okay, I mean, I don't care. All right, but number two, you get a situation where the federal government is basically saying to the American people, trust us. We're going to run your life from the time you're born to the time you die. You don't need to really do anything. just give us all your money, everything that you earn. Just turn over 60, 70% of it to us. We'll take care of it. Okay, get on a plane and go to Venezuela. See how that works out. Go down and visit Raul Castro in Havana.
Go over to Sweden where their tax rate, they pay something like 40-something% of their income. Their health care is a hell of a lot less than ours. They pay a hell of a lot less. Yeah, we pay low taxes. We sure as shit make up for it at the things that the government could be providing for us.
I know. See how they're living down there. Yet,
See how France.
Dick is tasty.
Had a Go ahead.
80 million people voted for Biden. Yes, Biden lied to you.
And now, by the way, we are now in podcast form, and I love the fact that like somebody just listening to the podcast of the Troll Patrol doesn't know that I'm responding to somebody in the comments that just all of a sudden blurted out, "Dick is tasty." They have no clue that I'm responding to somebody that made a comment.
Yes, he said he was a moderate. He's not. He's nothing. He's agnostic. Biden is nothing because he can't concentrate long enough to know what to do.
Oh, Biden does a lot of things. I can name them, sir.
This conversation between
not a socialist, that's for sure.
Third, and you said to him, "Hey, Mr. President, with all due respect, you're breaking the bank here. All right, you're going to tax the country into a recession. Do you have any clue about that?"
That is not what any economic experts are saying at this moment.
I mean, it's just crazy.
Bill O'Reilly has no fucking clue what he's talking about.
France is really bad. They tax their millionaires with a 70% tax, and the
Good. We used to back when this country was strong.
They had to repeal that.
They didn't have to go far. They just got on their bikes, rode into Monaco. All right, Monte Carlo.
Well, they could because they have very nice, government made bike trails. So.
Yeah, but there's no tax.
Yes, we need bike trails.
All of the friends.
By the way, Bill O'Reilly earlier proposed a interstate bike lane.
See you, goodbye. And there's
we're gonna name it after him, Bill's bike lane.
So what I'm worried about is that we are so distracted. We Americans are so distracted that we are going to allow a wave.
I'm distracted by the dreck that's on the Glenn Beck program.
There will be a backlash, and the border is the beginning of that, because even the simplest of us, and I'm not going to mention any names on CNN.
It's kind of wild that he mentioned the border because that was our next topic. Well, of course, what are all the Republicans losing their minds over?
We just had I think, a very productive.
This was like their 700th press conference from the border in last month at least.
The head of Border Patrol Council, Mr.
They keep going down there. They keep doing these videos that they're hoping are going to go viral. Yes, that's Jim Jordan, the motherfucker that's covered up sexual assault in Ohio. Now, this is a 30-minute clip. We're going to skip through.
We were with Border Patrol agents yesterday.
It's a whole clown show of chuckle fucks.
In the history of Border Patrol, since they've been keeping records, since they've been keeping data, busiest month on record. 40% of manpower is currently used for processing.
Doesn't sound like the audio is very good. We might not watch any of it.
Migrants.
What chuckle fuck we got now?
A month through this human trafficking made possible by the president's policies.
If I'm not mistaken, Jim Jordan is one of the only people to come forward and issue a statement in regards to Matt Gaetz and actually defend him. Speaking of Matt Gaetz, I'm glad you brought that up. We have some new developments. Apparently the man that Gaetz said tried to extort him for $25 million admitted he asked for the money, but not to extort Gaetz.
Our border is your border.
Plus, Gaetz is going to be headlining a women's event.
To communities all across the country. They're guaranteed by the Biden administration.
Yeah, we can't even hear what these fuckers... They're trying to do this press conference for show, and their audio sucks. We can't even hear what the fuck they're saying.
Hundreds and thousands of miles to get to a place that parents think is safe. We went through the process yesterday, and I saw this.
We're almost there, I promise. We got a couple more stories. And we're gonna lay into Gaetz.
And I sat there as we're talking with these great men and women. And I was glanced over every few minutes.
Yeah, fuck these guys.
Small community. Judges to not worry about the asylum backlog.
GOP reps at the border torch Biden for crisis.
Court hearing. Guess what? They're not coming back to court.
Now, there is problems with Biden's response to the crisis. Here's a real one. Biden has yet to reunite any migrant families separated under Trump. Not one of the hundreds of migrant families separated from President Trump's zero tolerance policy has been reunited under President Biden thus far. This according to senior Department of Homeland Security officials. They confirmed this earlier today. Reuniting migrant families was one of Biden's clearest immigration-related promises. I know, that's why I'm bringing it up. Given the lack of process set up under Trump when families were being separated, the current administration is faced with manually digging through government files to try to locate the parents of children who were separated. Regarding the reunification thus far, the task force has not directly unified any families yet, and that's because we really are trying to build the process and the information. This is according to a senior DHS official. Officials told reporters on a call this morning that they're pouring through the roughly 5,600 migrant child cases from 2017, which hadn't yet been reviewed for evidence of family separation. That's how far back they are. Oh my God, it's such a huge backlog. That's the crisis. He is such a dickbag. It doesn't matter if he supports reconciliation or not. Once again, I wouldn't put too much stock in Manchin because he's trying to posture. He's wanting to get something. They're gonna have to throw him some red meat. But the Democrats need to stick and carrot him. Bernie needs to go to West Virginia. There you go. Let Bernie hold a few little mini rallies in West Virginia and see Manchin change his tune. The senior... I can't talk tonight. Maybe I'm not stoned enough. He threw a hissy fit over a couple ago. Vice President Harris. Trusting either Dems with an apostrophe S or reps with an apostrophe. Or do you mean representatives when you say a... And neither of those, you shouldn't use a possessive apostrophe for either of those. I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about, sir. Would you like to call in and discuss it with us? 917-830-4359, or you can hop in the Discord. I'm feeling froggy tonight. The senior officials added they are also looking for children who might have been separated from legal guardians who were not their parents, noting the process is likely to increase the numbers of families still separated. Jesus Christ. So we got video of a young migrant on the border. We've also got some Fox video here we're going to watch. I'm not exactly sure if they bring up the video of the migrant. It looks like.
We start with the White House downplaying the arrest of two Yemeni men on the terror watch list who tried crossing the border illegally.
Residue, yes. All statements are true and false and meaningless in some
They're their
sense.
pictures. They're not on the website anymore, though. This as the CBP is deleting the photos of the men and the press release about their arrests.
Right, and I'm sure they're the only two that ever crossed recently. Griff Jenkins is judge.
So I guess these two were on the terrorist watch list or something.
As Republicans demand answers, can I say Americans demand answers, Griff?
Well, that's right. Brian Ainsley and Steve, good morning.
Oh, that's right.
Relic of the 80s. Printers printing things
Look
out.
at me, I'm Griff Jenkins. My name is Griff.
This now deleted press release from CBP announced a second Yemeni man was arrested crossing the border in California and identified.
Where do they get these people? Griff.
It's nowhere to be found now. CBP issued a statement yesterday saying this, quote, the news release in question was not properly reviewed and contained certain disclosure and policy information related to national security that required CBP to remove it from our website. Well, at the White House, Press Secretary Jen Psaki was downplaying it.
Encounters of known and suspected terrorists are very uncommon. DHS works
with international
partners to prevent individuals on certain watch lists.
No. You edit something like that, you like fucking edit clips together like that. She did not say whatever the fuck you're trying to make her say. That is deceptive as shit. Fuck you, Fox.
This is rare.
Now, all of this has prompted House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy to send a letter to the FBI and CIA directors raising real concerns over terrorists crossing undetected. Meanwhile, shocking video reportedly shot by a Border Patrol agent shows a little boy east of Rio Grande City stranded, scared, and sobbing in the desert.
¿Ah? ¿No puede ayudar? ¿Qué pasó? Es que yo venía con un grupo de personas y me dejaron botar y no sé dónde están.
No sabe dónde están. Oh, it's Smokey.
Now, that child is believed to be between 10 and 12 years old. He was taken
He took off.
by shelter. Meanwhile, DHS Secretary Mayorkas is reportedly considering restarting some wall construction, filling, quote, gaps in the current barrier. The White House, though, acknowledged that they're evaluating the possibility of filling some gaps, but emphasized that wall construction is still paused. Brian Ainsley, Steve?
All right. Hey, so, Griff, they pulled the press release and they said national security. Really, the administration was just embarrassed because they now have instituted this news blackout because they can't have people saying, oh, maybe the Republicans were right about the terror threat.
Well, you put your finger on it, Steve. I mean, here is that press release, the headline, which says 2 Yemeni men arrested.
That's their like new tactic. They love holding shit up. It makes it like look official and shit.
Do you have a right to know and see that or not? The CBP currently says the answer is no.
There's also, I've noticed that they have this tactic of, remember back when the whole Ukraine scandal was going on? So many of them were like, read the transcript. And then I would like cut and paste like I had the transcript with the relevant parts highlighted. And then like I'd like comment back with the fucking highlight like, this transcript right here? Yes, I did read it. They did it again with the voting law thing. They were like, well, did you read the voting law? Yes, I did. I know what's in it. You don't fucking know what's in it. So they did bring up Biden is apparently restarting construction in order to fill some gaps left by Trump. Biden could restart some building along the U.S.-Mexico border. President Joe Biden's pledge to cease construction of former President Donald Trump's Keystone Project. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas has told colleagues that some construction might resume along the border wall to plug some gaps. According to the report, Mayorkas said that while Biden had frozen Defense Department funding for the wall, that leaves room to make decisions as part of the administration, in particular areas of the wall that need renovation, particular projects that need to be finished. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's even if it is like, you know, a honest to God, like, oh, we're just, because that's what Trump never built a wall. He was just patching up holes in a fucking existing fence. That's all Biden's going to do. But the optics, fucking Democrats are horrible with optics. Oh, shit. And they just let misinformation abound everywhere. Like voting misinformation. After the All-Star game was moved from Georgia to Colorado, as I said, many people were like, hey, did you read the voting law? Colorado has the same voting law. That was one of their talking points. Major League Baseball's decision to move the All-Star game to Denver from Atlanta after Georgia approved a law that makes it more difficult to vote is creating a firestorm of misinformation about Colorado's voting laws. There is little similarity between the states. Colorado has one of the most accessible systems in the nation and recorded the second highest turnout rate among the voting eligible population in 2020. Colorado's voter ID requirement is not as strict as Georgia's because our counties accept many different forms. Georgia's early voting period is 17 days. I don't know who ours is. I don't know who wrote this. Oh, Jonathan Frank, author of Denver. The criticism overshadowed the celebration from the state and local officials who said the July 13th game would generate $190 million in local economic impact. Now, one of the things I want to point out is so many people on threads were going, oh, they're costing the small businesses. No. Yeah, I'm sure chain restaurants do well around sporting events like the All-Star game. Small businesses, the local restaurants and bars, they hate those games because it drives away their usual customers. People don't want to put up with the headache of going out. Yes, I realize you think the Democrats and Republicans are two wings of the same word. Blah, 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 blah. Whatever. That's the dumbest false equivalency ever. Do the Democrats have problems? Yes, I point them out every night. I've bitched about Joe Biden multiple times already tonight. Over and over again. Joe Biden is 1,000,000 times better than Donald Trump. Hands down, without question. Now, that's a low fucking bar. But he is 1,000,000 times better than Donald Trump. There are two wings and they're both right. You're correct. There are two capitalist parties. As of right now, I will support the one capitalist party that at least has a shred of democracy left in it. And my plan is to help take it over. I'm still begging anybody that might be watching in West Virginia. I know I've got viewers in West Virginia. We need to primary Joe Manchin. We need to primary Joe Manchin from the left. Make Joe Manchin scared. Somebody needs to go ahead and declare. It's going to be a fun civil war because I disagreed with your notion of the two parties are exactly alike. Meh, 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 meh. I mean, shit, we won the Civil War last time. What the fuck? There is way more of us. There is way more center-left people. There are more people that believe in democracy than there are that believe in whatever the fuck the GOP is peddling, which is xenophobia, voter suppression, oppressive laws, and it used to be corporatism. They used to suck the corporate cock, but now they're biting the hand that feeds them. I don't know what the fuck is going on. How the fuck are they going to win elections? But Mitch McConnell comes out, says corporations need to keep their mouths shut. Oh, unless it's campaign donations. No, keep those coming. I wonder, did Humana tell Mitch McConnell to come out and tell corporations to keep their mouths shut? Big corporations are all Democrat? What the fuck are you talking about? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Now, that's the thing. I do not want corporatism to seep over into any more than it already is in the Democratic Party. Keep your goddamn Republicans over there. There is enough stupid-ass Republicans in the Democratic Party already. Joe Biden's one of them. I wish they'd go back over and try to take over the Republican Party. They're trying to come over here and cramp our style. Yes, yes, yes. A Bernie-style Democrat can win in West Virginia. Now, one of my all-time favorite foils, one of the people I hate the most, keeps sharing out his little clip on Joe Rogan. I don't think this was recent. I think this happened. He keeps sharing it out because he's talking about voter ID laws. And it is one of my favorite right-wingers, the man that I desperately, desperately want to take a piss in his open eye hole. Dan Crenshaw on with Joe Rogan.
ID. And we're not talking about like immediately, like you need it next week to vote for the president of the United States. We're talking about some...
You should have it.
Some shit that's going down in 2024, right? That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We're talking about like you have now 3 years to get an ID in order to be able to vote for the next president. That seems like it should be locked. I'm sure there's votes in between now and then, but that's the big one.
Look, they're against voter ID laws.
And I always forget, like, I voted in the last election without a valid photo ID. I have a story, a very valid story, why I do not have an ID. There are several people that do not have an ID. It's enough to make a dent. And Republicans would like to disenfranchise those people because they tend to vote Democrat. That's all it is. And remember, as we were listening to him talk about this voter ID bullshit, voter fraud is non-existent. It's virtually impossible to commit. The voter fraud that does actually occur is usually a clerical error or somebody voting in the wrong precinct. Every now and again, you get some dumb fuck that voted twice. That happened this past election, and it was for Trump.
Period.
Why? I don't understand why.
Well, the stated reason that they give is because they call it voter suppression, and they say it's harder for minorities to get ID. Now, any logical thinking person immediately refutes that. 4 out of 5 Americans believe voter ID.
Did I have to present an ID? Now, I did indeed have a valid ID when I registered. Did I? I want to say I registered to vote when I got my registration here. Because, like, everybody usually registers when they have some sort of interaction with the government, right? I want to say that when I registered to vote, it was whenever I switched my registration for my vehicle over. So for whatever that was, I had to present, you had to prove who you are. So, yeah, most people get it from the DMV, like mine was the courthouse, because it was, so I live in a state which is very purposely limited the number of DMV offices there are. It's a 4 or 5 hour wait if I want to go get a license. So, now you tell me, if you've got somebody, hey, say you're a really poor person, and you're working 2 jobs, you've got kids. When you gonna have 4 or 5 hours to drop by the DMV and sit down? So you might have an expired license. You tried to go in like, oh shit, I didn't know. You want to prevent these people from voting? They've got their voter registration card. You want to prevent them from voting? I never even thought about it. I'm from Kentucky. When I first voted, all you had to do was go in, say your name and your address, and then you signed your signature. So I guess if there was ever a challenge, they did a signature verification. That's all it was. You go in, you say name and address, because who the fuck is going to know your name and address and is going to go in person and vote for you? And likely, we're talking about a local precinct. It's a good possibility that your fucking neighbor's in there with you, who's going to be able to impersonate you. Like, this whole idea just boggles my mind. If people have that, they shouldn't need a driver's license. I don't understand why. Okay, let me, Rocky, what are they going to do? Going to go to West Virginia and campaign against me? Oh, please, that would help. Yes, I try. I have a friend. I have an ex-girlfriend. She is a like a director of marketing for a insurance company. She lives in Charleston. I have told her she would make an excellent candidate and that she should run. And I think she should run against Joe Manchin. I want to know what FBI operative thinks, period. Give us a call, motherfucker. 917-830-4359. Or hop in the Discord. Just tell me you're in there and I'll hop on in with you.
Good idea.
Has there any debates been done on this? It seems like I would like to see... I mean, not just seems like. I would like to see someone from the left who supports this idea that voter IDs
Are bad.
Are
Well, they
bad.
all, so every member of
Okay, here you go, Joe Rogan. The 24th Amendment outlaws poll taxes. There you go. And like, I'll give Joe Rogan credit. Joe Rogan, if I was there with him and said, okay, the 24th Amendment outlaws poll taxes, people have their registration, think about it, how like voter fraud, non-existent. If I ran down all those things, Joe Rogan would probably be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, why you gotta have an ID to vote? So, because Joe Rogan is that cool of a guy. The problem is he's in this pipeline and fucking... He doesn't fucking know enough to challenge Dan Crenshaw.
Of Democrat Congress, I believe, voted for H.R. 1. H.R. 1 is their... They passed it out of the House last session, passed it out this session. Questionable whether it would get through the Senate. There's a lot to this bill, but one of them undermines voter ID laws in states. So they don't like voter ID.
But why?
I don't know. Their stated reason is that, right? It hurts minority voters.
Do I need to look that up for you guys? I mean, I've got it handy. It's been a common topic. A small fraction of people who voted in Texas and Michigan in 2016 lacked a photo ID. But those who did were disproportionately people of color, according to two new working papers. The two studies, while completed independently, complement one another. They each focus on voting habits in one state, but provide broader insights about how different types of voter identification laws could affect other parts of the country. So there you go. And I'm sure it disproportionately affects poor people.
And you and I look at that and you're like, that's ridiculous. That doesn't make any sense. And go talk to minorities then if you believe that. They have ideas.
Because the way that it's a straw man. They're like, oh, you think they're too stupid to get an ID? No, you motherfuckers. God damn.
It's ridiculous to assume they don't have IDs.
If it seems like it seems like it's way easier to get people IDs than it is to get them health care.
It is way easier.
Doesn't that? Right?
And also, here's another fact.
Well, let's get people IDs then.
Every time voter ID laws are implemented, or any election integrity laws are implemented in Republican states, minority vote share goes up. It continues to go up. There's no evidence of suppression. There's literally zero.
Because we have to keep fighting. He's saying it goes up. But like we've just witnessed this, like these wave elections because we're fighting fascists. And you're using that as an example of why your voter suppression isn't working. Jesus Christ. I fucking hate Dan Crenshaw. I would give anything. I mean, I would give anything to fucking piss in Dan Crenshaw's open eye hole. That is my one wish. I'm assuming something that looked like what I just showed you. Probably a lot of beeping and lights. God damn. Who do I hate more, Ted Cruz or Dan Crenshaw? That's a tough one. Probably Ted Cruz because of longevity. Dan Crenshaw has a relatively short record because he's only been on the scene a couple years. Ted Cruz been around a little bit. Here's Brian Kemp, the governor of Georgia, on the MLB move.
Governor, thank you so much for being here. I got to tell you, just moments ago, literally 15 seconds ago, in my ear, breaking news. We want to get your reaction. The All-Star Game has now been officially relocated, according to sources close to the Associated Press, to Denver. So from your state of Atlanta to Denver, Colorado. First, your reaction to that immediate news.
Well, if that's true, Pete, thanks for having me on. Georgia has...
Oh, we gave a lot of money to build that stadium. It's a shame.
Voting, including 2 optional Sundays. Colorado has 15. That's what I'm being told. They also have a photo ID requirement. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But, of course, neither does Joe Biden opening the NCAA championship game.
They just lie.
Every game's played in Indiana and how great it is, and Indiana's the birthplace for the photo ID requirement. In fact, the court case that upheld that was Marion County, where the game's being played tonight. So hypocritical.
Governor, what is this about then? Because those numbers don't lie. It's obviously not about the voter ID requirement. It's obviously not about
hypocritical me means I just named something that has nothing to do with a red herring.
By one of Stacey Abrams' organizations, Stop Jim Crow.
It sounds good though.
Was registered even
when people watch Fox, too fucking stupid to know any better.
So why Georgia? Why this line in the sand?
Well, I think because we have an early session and we took the initiative to really fix some issues that we saw in the election last year and try to continue.
It was the safest election in history, but Donald Trump lost, so we had to fix that.
Secure, accessible, fair elections. But I'll tell you, I think there's several other things. Obviously, you got Stacey Abrams and her groups that are, including the president, that are lying to the American people and our citizens, and obviously to a lot of these corporations that they're trying to.
And the host is like, yes, they're lying.
For their financial well-being. You've also got trying to distract from the people flooding across the border. And then you also have the big push for HR1 and SR1 at the federal level to have an unconstitutional mandate to take over, state elections.
No.
You're absolutely right. I mean, when the Washington Post, friend of Joe Biden, is giving him 4 Pinocchios for his characterization of what's happening in Georgia, he's in trouble. It's absolutely not true. But it's not just Major League Baseball. That's the crazy part about this.
I can't imagine. I don't know what he's talking about, but I can't imagine they gave him 4 Pinocchios about everything. It had to be like one little minor point.
It was reported that after you signed the bill, an internal statement from Delta's corporate communications team to its employees was leaked. The Delta statement said its government affairs team, a.k.a. their lobbyists, have been heavily engaged in helping to write the bill. So, Governor, Delta Airlines was involved in helping to write the bill because they wanted it to be good and they were satisfied with what it looked like. Now they're running away from it. What does this tell you about the power of the left, the mob?
Oh, they're working on them. They're working on the board members, or the board members themselves are working on the CEOs. And I know some of these CEOs that are outspoken live in New York and New Jersey, where you have to have an excuse to vote absentee. You don't have to have that in Georgia, or they don't have early voting, or they don't have as many days like Joe Biden's own state of Delaware. It's so hypocritical. And look, it's just unfair.
I want to punch this motherfucker so bad. I'm sorry. That's like a Twitch violation.
And baseball fans, not only here, but all
I want to punch this computer screen so fucking bad.
Sport, America's pastime, is now going to be politicized. I mean, when I grew up playing Little League, Senior League, high school baseball, last thing I thought about playing those games and having my family in the stands and a bunch of other kids that I grew up with was politics. That's the last thing anybody thought about. And now it's front and center because we have
glory residue. I'm sad FBI ran away.
Look, we're not engaging in that. Even though they've been engaged, their government affairs teams were engaged in the legislative processes at work.
Unbearable.
And this is a bill that is really a good bill. It's going to, further secure our elections, but also.
And I'm afraid that these events have propelled him into the national spotlight.
Voted on that bill, and it's a good.
He's
bill.
probably going to eventually be a senator from Georgia.
I hate to say that, but that's the facts, and there's plenty of people piling on them now about other things that make a lot of sense to me, like China and Cuba.
Like China. They love that false equivalency too. Well, the MLB, they'll do business with China. Oh my God, DeSantis. Yeah, stick around. We're going to have to hear from that dumbass here in a little bit too. So, interesting thing here with all these boycotts going on the right wing. After urging massive boycott, Coke was one of the companies they're boycotting, located in Atlanta, Georgia. A lot of Congress people took their state house people, wasn't it? Took Coke out of their offices in Georgia. After urging massive boycott, Trump appears to hide his own Diet Coke bottle for a pic with Stephen Miller. This was his office. He was showing off. If we look here, there's the Diet Coke bottle behind his phone. Twitter users spotted a familiar item hiding behind the desk phone. More than one person identified it as a can or a bottle of Diet Coke, for which Trump has a famous obsession. Trump called for a ban of Coke 3 days ago. How's that going? Such a fucking fraud. All of them are frauds, including Jenna Ellis, one of Trump's lawyers, ex-Trump lawyer now. Her claims about not worshiping him go up in holy smoke. Jenna Ellis, a former senior legal advisor to Donald Trump, got taken to Sunday school after claiming on Twitter that literally no one worships the ex-president. Oh my God. Ellis made the bold declaration after MSNBC's Joy Reid tweeted that idolatrous worshipers of Trump would have their thoughts on biblical Christianity taken with a huge pound of salt by people who are reasonably familiar with the gospel. Here's Jenna Ellis's response. Literally no one worships Trump. Maybe you need to be more than reasonably familiar with the gospel. I'd be happy to introduce you to the real Jesus and true Christianity, Joy. DM me or start by reading Romans and the Gospels. Ellis's post soon got ratioed with a series of stark reminders. Critics recalled the golden statue of Trump at this year's Conservative Political Action Conference, the time Trump signed Bibles during a church visit, and how he, his allies, and evangelicals claimed he'd been sent by God. Others mockingly shared right-wing memes of Trump as a deity and suggested his supporters who stormed the U.S. Capitol on January the 6th were also in holy thrall to the then president. Some of you have even called him God and okay with him signing holy Bibles. Yes, literal gaslighter. I feel like somebody retweeted like one of her old tweets where she said he had been sent by God. Yeah, okay, Jenna. Yeah, look at that fucking picture. He was sent to us at church rally. Evangelicals worship God and Trump. I really thought there was a quote from her on here. Maybe I'm mistaken or we looked over it. All right. So Trump had the power to pardon Matt Gaetz, or at least Matt Gaetz thought so. Oh shit. Trump says that Matt Gaetz never asked him for a pardon. Former President Trump on Wednesday refuted reports that Representative Matt Gaetz asked his office for a blanket preemptive pardon in the final days of his administration. Congressman Gaetz has never asked me for a pardon, Mr. Trump said in a statement. The statement was the first time the former president has weighed in on the political firestorm that has engulfed the Florida Republican. Mr. Gaetz is under a federal criminal investigation over accusations he had sex with a 17-year-old girl and violated sex trafficking laws. Mr. Gaetz has vehemently denied wrongdoing and has not been criminally charged. He has claimed he's the victim of an extortion plot. I'm glad they brought that up. New details in this extortion plot. The man accused of trying to extort Matt Gaetz admits he asked for money. The man accused of trying to extort Representative Matt Gaetz admitted Monday that he'd asked for money, but insists he wasn't trying to blackmail the embattled Florida Republican. Bob Kent, an ex-Air Force intelligence officer, acknowledged that he did ask Mr. Gaetz' father, Don Gaetz, for money last month. In an interview with Sirius radio host Michael Smerconish, Mr. Kent said that the funds were to pay for an effort to return Robert Levinson, a former FBI agent who disappeared in Iran in 2007. Although the FBI agent is believed to be dead, Mr. Kent said he has video evidence that Levinson is alive and being held captive. Mr. Kent said he met with Don Gaetz, a former Florida politician, on March 17th and told him he was aware of his son's legal issues. Helping to rescue Levinson, he said, would generate goodwill. The Justice Department is investigating allegations that Mr. Gaetz had a sexual relationship with a 17-year-old. The congressman has denied the allegations. The idea that Levinson is still alive just blows my mind. 14 years ago. Yes. Well, I mean, it's everything with Republicans is projection. Everything. If they're accusing Democrats of being pedophiles, they're the pedophiles. Or covering up for pedophiles, right, Jim Jordan? I guess it wasn't a pedophile. They were in college. Still preying on teens and just barely 20-somethings. Matt Gaetz is headlining a Women for America First event despite, everything. Congressman Matt Gaetz hasn't been on Fox News since a disastrously awkward performance on Tucker Carlson's show last week, and he hasn't gotten any public support from former President Donald Trump's inner circle since the news broke of an apparent Justice Department investigation. But if Gaetz is starving for attention, he'll get it pretty soon. This weekend, he's slated to appear at an event run by the organizers of the January 6th rally in D.C. that preceded the Capitol riot. Oh my God. Speaking of which, on the QAnon documentary, you get, what's his name? Jim Watson. Like, as he's marching to the Capitol saying, yeah, I did this. Yeah, this is me. Everything in like fucking federal indictment that motherfucker. He's like admitting on camera to everything. Gaetz was announced Tuesday as part of a lineup of prominent Republicans who will appear at the Trump National Doral Resort in Miami for Women for America First Save America Summit. I'm sorry, let me say that title again. The Trump National Doral Resort in Miami for Women for America's First Save America Summit. And it starts on Thursday. Other speakers at the event will include Senator Rand Paul, 6 Republican House members, including Representatives Marjorie Taylor Greene and Louis Gohmert, because that's exactly what a women's conference needs, is Louis fucking Gohmert. Various other right-wing personalities, yada, yada, yada. Congressman Matt Gaetz has been a fearless leader in Washington. Women for America First Chair Amy Crimmer said in an email, "Few members of Congress have been more willing than Matt to stand up and fight on behalf of President Trump and his America First agenda. We are honored to have Congressman Gaetz speak at the Save America." I would be amused. I would go for content. Gaetz is probably eager for a friendly audience considering the barrage of bad news he's gotten lately. The Justice Department probe into Gaetz, which was launched during the Trump administration, reportedly centers around a series of transactions 2 years ago and whether or not Gaetz paid to have sex with a girl who was 17 at the time. Speaking of really shitty-ass Republican politicians from Florida, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Ron DeSantis.
They cut out everything that showed that their narrative was a piece of horse manure.
This is him responding to the 60 Minutes interview. We watched that on Monday. We watched the clip that he said was edited, and then we watched the whole thing from the press conference. They didn't leave anything out. They didn't deceptively edit anything. I would say I would have fun going on acid, but then I'd probably be bored to tears on acid. Fuck, I do not want to be here. I want to be home dancing to Radiohead. I don't know what drug I would. I'd just be high as shit.
Dishonest. Normal. These are smear merchants. That's why nobody trusts corporate media.
Unbearable.
They are a disaster in what they're doing. They knew what they were doing was a lie. I knew what they were doing was a lie. Everybody
they didn't lie about it.
Knows what they were doing is a lie. They know that we know they're lying, and yet they continue to lie. And they lied, and they lied, and they lied. We offered them the information, and they declined to interview the key people because they didn't want to let go of the.
And by the way, apparently it is worse than I even described it the other night when we watched the 60 Minutes interview and the whole thing with Publix and everything. Oh, it seems like it was really entrenched. He made the argument that Publix was 1.7 miles from every from the average elder person or something in the state. But as I said, Walmart would be closer to everybody. The thing I didn't think about when we were talking about it is Publix aren't in rural communities at all. The people in rural communities were having to drive hours. And okay, and the thing is this motherfucker, if something doesn't happen to him soon, is going to be the Republican nominee in 2024. As of right now, absent Trump influence, DeSantis is the front runner. And that's fucking sad because this man should be in jail. If there is any justice in this world, this motherfucker is in jail by the end of the decade. And it's sad that I have to say by the end of the decade, but the governor in Michigan is still walking free right now.
Narrative. Well, guess what? There's going to be consequences for that. I know corporate media thinks that they can just run over.
Not Whitmer, the one that poisoned everybody in Flint.
I'm punching back, and I'm going to continue to do it until these smear merchants are held.
That's interesting. Do you think Mitt Romney really is positioning himself to try to run again? He would lose. There's no way. There's absolutely no way. Mitt Romney would stand a better chance of running in the Democratic Party than he would of running for president as a Republican. I thought he was just going to be happy to ride it out as a senator. There was him running for president again would be a fucking suicide mission. Unless it says a Democrat, he could run as a Democrat and win. Seriously. I do not see a path for him in the Republican Party. I hope he does. He would fall flat on his fucking face. To have been the candidate in 2012 and then not even be able to secure the nomination will be like fucking last on the ticket, hands down. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it.
Florida has vaccinated 3.5 million senior citizens. We were the first state in the country.
I feel like Boner is like he's doing a lot of business shit right now, isn't he? Getting him back into politics probably be difficult.
Much less likely to be hospitalized for COVID than they were 6 months ago. So our efforts have worked, and particularly in Palm Beach County, we've done over 275,000 seniors just in that one county. That's 75% of all the seniors there. It's been a team effort. We've worked in a lot of different ways, but you can't lie, and you should have.
75% of Palm Beach County is like their most populous county. 75% of the seniors there. What is the most rich 75%? I want to say he's invested in a cannabis company, and that's the reason why. I can't even finish watching DeSantis. We're going on to what I think it was day 8 of the George Floyd trial. I'm sorry, I fucked it. I've done so good about not doing that. The Derek Chauvin trial, George Floyd is not on trial. I had it on my mind because, fuck, that's what we're going to be talking about. Lead investigator in Derek Chauvin murder case reverses his testimony and claims he heard George Floyd say, "I ain't doing any drugs," minutes after testifying that he heard him say, "I ate too many drugs." Eric Nelson played the clip to the court for one of the officer's body-worn cameras on the scene last May 25th and asked use of force expert witness Jody Stigger if he could make out what Floyd was saying. He could not. See if we've got the video here. We should. Are we going to have an ad?
Trying hard to get a...
Because it's Daily Mail. What's up, Warlord? Murkowski or Collins? I'm surprised one of them didn't run before. If one of them were going to run, I would have thought it would have been a 2012 kind of deal. 2016. All right, so here we go.
Arrest, even just in the immediate kind of wingspan, that can be very chaotic, right?
Yes.
People can be talking to each other. People can be talking over each other, right?
Yes.
The suspect may be saying some things, right?
Yes.
Bystanders may be saying some things, right?
Yes.
In the chaos, it's easy to miss some things, right?
In certain instances, yes, depending on the severity of what's going on.
I'd like to publish part of the body-worn camera. It's Officer King's body-worn camera, starting at 2021-01.
Received?
Yes.
Any objection?
No objection. I'd like you to see if you can tell me what Mr. Floyd says in this instance. You hear what he said?
No, I couldn't make it out.
Does it sound like he says, "I ate too many drugs"? Listen again.
I can't make that out now.
So in the chaos of a situation, things can be missed, right?
Yes.
Well, he corrects himself to say that,
Can you?
I ain't doing any drugs. Probably gonna get another ad here. Visit our postgraduate program in cloud computing at Texas McCombs College. Fucking Daily Mail. I've tried to rip their Tried to rip their videos and I can't do it.
Voice. Did you hear that?
Yes, I did.
Did it appear that Mr. Floyd said, I ate too many drugs?
Yes, it did.
Please. Please, I can't breathe.
So the record should reflect that we've played through 2021-10 with the quote that you were asked about appearing really at 2021-01, correct?
Yes.
Here's the thing: we're watching this because this was the big moment in the trial today. But it doesn't fucking matter if he ate all the drugs in the fucking world. Does not matter. He was murdered by that fucking cop.
Having heard it in context, are you able to tell what Mr. Floyd is saying there?
Yes, I believe Mr. Floyd was saying, I ain't do no drugs.
So it's a little different than what you were asked about when you only saw a portion of the video, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then to...
Yeah, because it really seemed like the defense was leading him. Like maybe he just didn't realize what the defense was saying. He clarified himself. Once again, we are going to pick up whenever closing arguments happen. We're going to be here for the verdict. This is a historic moment. Obviously, as anti-cop as I am, I'm pretty sure everybody knows what I'm hoping for. It's only justice that the man gets convicted. So, here we go. Cops arrested a black man taking out his garbage while looking for a white suspect. Let me read that headline again. Cops arrested a black man taking out his garbage while looking for a white suspect. It was a music producer. Let's see, do we have... We have the footage. Let's check it out here.
Turn around for me. Turn around. Turn around.
And as well it should burn.
Because I told you to. Turn around. What are you doing, bro? I live here. All right, we got a call. We got a... Okay, man. I don't know who I'm looking for yet. Come on, step. Turn around, man.
Looking for a white suspect.
Turn around, dude.
They saw a black man taking out his garbage. Decided to grab him.
What are you doing? What is your problem? Get up against the wall.
Look what you're doing to me.
Jeez. Hey, Michelle! Jeez, dude. What are you doing?
Michelle!
Stop.
Hey, yo, Michelle!
Jeez.
Yo, you're looking for the people upstairs, bro.
I don't know. Relax.
Dog, you can ask me.
I'm
yo, you
not.
got your hands on me for no reason, bro.
Hey, son.
I have no clue what's going on right now.
Get away. Get away. Take him down.
He might be hyperventilating or something. I don't blame him. So it's like the cop has knocked his body camera off. Remember, just an innocent person taking out his trash. Got grabbed by the cops. Land to the free, my ass. They're still on him. Here's the second half of the video. Well, I mean, I can't fault defense attorneys. They have to say, you know, something. And that's how flimsy a case they've got. I hope Anton Austin is going to get a hell of a settlement from this shit. Oh, by the way, this is from May 24th, 2019. We're just now seeing it today. We're going to get the story here in a little bit. The city been fighting to release this footage. Resisting what, motherfucker? He's innocent. I mean, they didn't even give him a chance to prove who he was. They just came out and grabbed him. Absolute bullshit. One of the cops just stepped on the body camera that fell off. Is it just She called 911 on her white boyfriend. The LAPD arrested her black neighbor instead. Okay, so like the 911 call is here, and like they knew, the dispatchers knew. The caller hung up without ever identifying herself, her location, or the person she was calling about. The 911 operator called her back, was unable to reach her. Meanwhile, the LAPD, well, maybe. Huh. A 911 call ended with a horrible and preventable case of mistaken identity, and now the Los Angeles County Attorney's Office is working to cover up the LAPD's bad behavior again. So a white woman made a vague call to 911 to say that her boyfriend had violated a restraining order. It's like a 9-minute call, so I didn't want to play it. But it doesn't look like she even gives any information about anything. The operator says, you don't know the address. Caller says, no. Operator, intersection, no. Can you tell me what address you're at? In a car. Operator, can you give me an intersection or an address where you're at? No, I think I'm coming into the station right now. The caller then hung up without ever identifying herself, her location, or the person she was calling about. The 911 operator called her back, but was unable to reach her. Meanwhile, the LAPD was notified of the address associated with the phone that made the 911 call. It was in Hollywood on Fountain Boulevard, just off of Highland Avenue, walking distance from Fat Sal's, a popular California sandwich chain that was mentioned in the call. Around the same time, 42-year-old music producer Anton Austin had stepped outside to bring in the trash cans. It was trash day in his neighborhood, and for the year or so he lived at his current apartment, it was part of his usual routine to bring them in from the street. I'm at home chilling. I had on sweats, no drawstring, chilling out, he explains. Anton continued, this cop made a U-turn in the middle of the street, and when they did that, they turned their sirens off. So I was like, whatever was happening must be over. At the same time, he saw his neighbor, Katerina, standing outside at the bottom of the stairs, outside of the gate, but had no idea that she'd called the 911 just moments earlier. As he brings in the trash cans, an officer approaches him and tells a startled Anton to turn around. Anton said he tried to explain to the officer that he lived there and that whoever they were looking for, he wasn't the guy. They didn't care, Anton said. The officer just said, we got a call, as he started to put his hands on me. From there, things went left very quickly. What Anton recounted was similar to that of a kidnapping gone bad, and he didn't go willingly. And why should he? All he had done was get up and go outside to bring in the trash can. Anton says he was forced into handcuffs while an officer kept repeating, "What is your problem?" So I kept telling him, "Bro, I'm not him." Anton didn't know who the person was the LAPD officers were looking for. He just knew for sure it wasn't him. Later it was discovered that the LAPD officers didn't even know who they were looking for. So, okay, they didn't know that they were looking for a white suspect at least. More officers arrived, including an officer, Anton recounted, who jumped out of the car and started running like a football player before pouncing on him. Coincidentally, that officer says that his body camera fell off, so there's no footage of his encounter with Anton. According to Anton's attorney, other body camera footage, it shows the initial responding officer spotting Anton bringing in his trash can. The attorney explains that the footage also shows officers discussing the fact that they had no information on what the suspect looked like, and they just got a call. But the LAPD didn't stop with Anton. As this is happening, my client begins to scream for help, the attorney continues. Eventually, his girlfriend, who was in the shower, comes running outside in a parka jacket to see her boyfriend being thrown to the ground by police officers. As she tries to intervene and help them, they throw her to the ground, exposing her naked body to the entire neighborhood. It's all on the body camera footage that the city of Los Angeles has blocked the public from having access to. For Michelle's trouble, she was arrested, put in jail, and charged with, it says lynching. Her bail, $50,000. Felony lynching is a technical term in California Penal Code that refers to the taking by means of a riot of another person from the lawful custody of a police officer. That's not what lynching means down here in the South, son. The charge carries a maximum penalty of 4 years in prison. Anton was arrested, jailed, and forced to post a $7,000 bond. He was charged with assault of a police officer and resisting arrest. Eventually, the assault charge was dropped. Anton said, "When I got to the station, I was asked if I knew why I was there, and I remember replying, 'No, I don't know why I'm here.'" Anton says that while he was at the Hollywood Division police station, he witnessed police officers laughing and sniggering while replaying the body camera footage of his naked girlfriend. "They did this right in front of me," Anton continued. "They played it over and over." Cops using body camera footage to laugh at people in compromising positions is not what taxpayers had in mind when they championed the use of cameras in police departments. Anton said that he was released around 3 a.m. the following morning in Los Angeles. Michelle had been released a few minutes earlier in downtown as well. Wow. Sits on your ass all day complaining about harmless refugees and immigrants. Ain't that the truth? All right, so we've got some crazy video. A worker restrained somebody that pulled a gun on him. I don't know the setup for this one, so let's check it out. Apparently, he held him down until the cops arrived. Oh, wow! Did you guys see that? So he just starts pulling out the gun. Dude, like, stops him from being able to do anything with it. Hell yeah. They own the What You Cookin' food truck in Mesa, Arizona.
On February 5th, when we were supposed to meet with Tom too, my husband couldn't make the meeting because he was getting our food truck serviced. Once I got to the meeting, that it just felt like it was something different that we were actually there for. You know, he brought an All Lives Matter shirt to me and yelling at me with it, calling me racist, just making me feel very uncomfortable. I decided to just contact my husband and, you know, I told him like, hey, you know, he's making me feel uncomfortable. How far are you? Can you come? And so my husband, he literally stopped everything that he was doing and he raced there because, you know, I was feeling, you know, something wasn't right.
So I ended up speaking there in like 5 minutes. You could tell he acting weird because even when I'm talking to him, having a conversation, he's not looking at me. He's not paying attention.
He's like disassociated.
And that's when he pulled out the gun.
Yeah, that's when he pulled the weapon.
So this is like the guy that owned this place. Afraid to call the cops because they're afraid that the cops would shoot her husband.
If I call the police, this may be it for him. This may be it. I was scared.
Dystopia.
I didn't feel like it's sad because I didn't feel like that was the first people that can help, you know. And you know, once they arrived, I stopped them at the door. I would not let anybody. I stood in the doorway and I begged them, every last one of those officers who had their guns. I said, please do not kill my husband.
That was the slowest 11 minutes ever.
Yeah, it was.
I'm thinking like, man, am I finna make it out this situation alive, or are the police gonna shoot me?
Dude is currently facing charges for aggravated assault. God damn, he's got some crazy eyes.
We need this to be heard because, you know, this man is
Trump has lost a lot of money according to Forbes, but then again, like, he never had money, and Forbes was saying he's a fucking billionaire, so who knows?
saying like, oh yeah, he did it, but
The Forbes list is just an estimate.
he's gonna kill you. And I hope that the prosecutor, you know, gives him a harsher,
Yes, this should be a hate crime.
She literally told us out her mouth that there's a possibility that he's not facing any jail time.
What?
At all.
After watching the QAnon documentary, I don't know where all that angst goes from there. Something is gonna grab the attention. I don't know what it is. I don't underestimate them though. Alright, so we have a video of a woman pulling a gun in traffic. I believe this happened in California.
Anybody want to
Oh yeah, Rocky, have a great night.
Anybody? Because I got good aim.
Always a pleasure seeing you. Woman pulling out a fucking gun. She just shot out her fucking sunroof.
Y'all crazy. The cow jumped over the moon. I'm going to kill somebody in the street.
The cow jumps over the moon.
The cow, I did it to go check it. Y'all still hacking my phone. Still. I told them y'all was crazy. That's why we were supposed to stop fucking Monday by Tuesday at the latest. I said it a long time ago. I told them y'all psychotic.
That cow jumped over the moon. I'm sorry if she's psychotic. I feel really bad for her if this is some sort of mental break.
Oh my God.
But also, people prone to mental breaks should not have guns.
They just passed her.
They just passed her. Oh, goddamn. Oh, Q. I mean, Q is over. It's what the remnants of that movement. What happens to them? I don't. Who knows? All right, we have a video of a waitress quitting in spectacular fashion. I've got a few stories like this of my own. Check her out here.
I completely understand. You just have to put your mask on in order to walk inside.
We're just literally walking 5 feet into the restaurant. I don't understand.
So we got a maskless Karen here.
If you don't mind, can you please just put it on?
I mean, like, I just put my
Can we-
lipstick
can we-
on.
yeah, I
can
could-
get it
I
all
could go
over
get-
the.
I'll go
I
get my
don't-
manager for you.
Yeah, that I don't see why I need to have a mask on to go 5 feet
Well,
into
ma'am,
a
because
restaurant.
we're
That
living in-
girl's not wearing one. That girl's not wearing
Well,
one.
I'll explain to you if you don't let me talk.
I'm not walking 5 feet into a
But if
restaurant.
people
Look,
like
I'm
you-
already in.
But
I'm
if
already in
people
here.
like you, that
Look,
make
and
it
I'm
difficult
breathing,
to
and
have
nobody's
a job.
This is why.
I just quit. I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you a lot.
Oh my God, jeez. She should seriously just.
She doesn't get paid enough to deal with that bullshit.
Happy? Are we happy now?
No, are you fucking happy? You made her fucking quit over your stupid bullshit.
We're just literally walking 5 feet into the restaurant. I don't understand why.
Charles Barkley. He's got a hot take that's been making the rounds. A lot of right-wing sites, predominantly. Let's hear a little bit of
I
it.
believe that in my heart. But I think our system is set up where our politicians, whether they're Republicans or Democrats, are designed to make us not like each other so they can keep their grasp of money and power. They divide and conquer. I truly believe in my heart most white people and black people are awesome people, but we're so stupid following our politicians, whether they're Republicans or Democrats. And their only job is, hey, let's make these people not like each other.
Now, if you've ever watched my show, if you've been watching for some time, you're gonna know one of my pet peeves is when people do the whole false equivalency, FBI, whatever the fuck, operative did it earlier in the chat. The two parties are exactly the same. Oh my God, I lost a friend over that not that long ago. Like, no, the parties are not exactly the same. And for some reason, whenever it's this false equivalency, it's usually assholes like Charles Barkley, who is a hardcore Republican, who has probably given hundreds of thousands of dollars to right-wing causes, getting on now that we're at this juncture here, going, oh, I think it's the politicians trying to separate us, whether it be Democrat or Republican. You're a fucking Republican. You have had an outsized influence in our politics, and I'm fucking tired of it. I don't give a shit what you've got to say, Charles fucking Barkley. And I'm a little pissed off at some of the right wingers that I saw, or some of the people that consider themselves on the left that stand for Charles. Kyle Kalinske was like, "Oh, Charles is pretty right on that." I'm like, "No, Kyle, no, he's not. It's a dumbass false equivalency. I hate it." All right, if you are watching on Twitch, I'm going to send you over to the fine ladies at Feminist Critique. They're going to take care of you. I'll hang out, chill for a little bit. Go ahead, light one up, tip one back. It's all right to have a little fun before you hit the sack. I'm Justin Freakin. We'll see you tomorrow night on the Troll Patrol. Live.